Hi, my name is Steve Simmons. We're at the Wooden Boat Festival, Port Townsend 2010, and with us today we've got Garland Goesch, and behind him is Garland's Windmill that he has just completed restoration on. And Garland, would you tell us a little bit about this beautiful windmill you have here?
Yeah, Steve, I had this windmill about 34 years now, and my dad brought this to me out of Nebraska, around Edgar, Nebraska, where I was raised and born. And I've had it 34 years, and I figured I better get it restored while I still have time to do that, because time's running out. And I went and bought a big hunk of wood from Eden Saw and sawed out all the sails for it and the upper and lower rim and put it together. I didn't know how to put it together because when I got it, it was in a big can and a sack, and I'd never seen it put together and didn't know how to do it. So June this year, I went to the International Windmillers Trade Fair in York, Nebraska. So I came home and I put it together, and here it is. It's a nice windmill. It's patented in 1918. It was made by the Baker Manufacturing Company in Wisconsin, Evansville, Wisconsin. And I went there to see if I could get information on it, but those guys, they're all young guys. They didn't know anything about it, but they did have one that was running there, and it's just a wonderful windmill.
Yes, it is a wonderful windmill. It's a beautiful, and it's very unique from anything most of us are used to seeing. It has 72 sails, and tell us about these sails and the uniqueness of this windmill and how it performs.
Well, it will shut itself down in a high wind situation. It will throttle back and it will still turn, but not as fast, and so it doesn't disintegrate itself. And that is a patent of the Baker Manufacturing Company. They invented that part. There were other windmill makers, about probably a little over 500 windmill makers in the United States at one time. And but they didn't all work like this, and this is a very unique situation. Other people use different methods for turning them off.
Beautiful. How about a demonstration of how this windmill would function?
Okay, be glad to do that. Okay, now this windmill is facing into the wind now. This is how it is when it's open. It has a 48-pound concrete counterbalance on the front of it in the shape of a football, and that is always into the wind, and it will turn and keep this mill into the wind so that the sections are able to turn and pump water. Now the other thing, when it gets to going fast enough, it will shut itself down automatically in this shape, and you can turn it off from down at the bottom of the tower also. When you don't want to pump water or you want the mill off in a high wind situation. Otherwise, it is open like this, and it turns clockwise. Turns very easy, by the way, and that's how it pumps the water. Now, in the old days when they were homesteading this country out in the prairies, they needed water, and they all didn't have creeks running through the property, and they needed water for stock, raise gardens, drink, cook, wash clothes, and even take a bath on Saturday night. And so they needed windmills, and that's how they got started. They started building these type of windmills in the 1800s, and this patent again is 1918, and I suppose this windmill's built probably in the very early 20s, and but a lot of wood fan windmills were built, and then they started making steel windmills and self-oiling windmills instead of the grease cups that they have on this one. Here's one of the grease cups, and there's 3 here, and there's 2 over here, and there's 1 there, and there's 1 there, and 1 out on the shipper spider. And they are grease cups that have to be turned occasionally to keep grease on the bearing surfaces. And then the steel windmills, they were self-oiling, and they didn't have to climb those towers, but except once a year to check the oil in them. But these was about once a week if they wanted to keep it turning right. Okay, one of the problems I had in restoring this windmill was that when I got it, it was all in a can. I just had parts. I didn't know whether I had enough parts or the right parts, but I found out that I did. One of the problems was this upper rim right here that holds the sails in a lower rim. It's a compound angle, and one of the angles for the sails keeps changing as it goes down the rim until it gets to almost zero, and then it goes a negative angle back out to equal the first one. And that was a real barn burner to figure that out and how it worked, but did get it done. And then I bought some wood, sawed out the sails, the rims, and cut the angles on a radial arm saw. And once I got that done, it was just a matter of cleaning up parts and painting the sails. I have a bead blast cabinet, and every part that I could get in there, I cleaned it up with glass beads and then primed it and painted it. The wood, I put penetrol on the bare wood to begin with to penetrate that and preserve it, and then I painted it with a paint that's you can paint on metal or wood, so that's what I used.
And thank you. I'm Steve Simmons at the Wooden Boat Festival 2010, and we've been with Garland Goesch. And Garland, we thank you for your time and the beautiful job you've done on this very nice windmill.
Well, you're certainly welcome, and I have it here so people can see what the old wooden fan windmills look like, and we've got a lot of good positive results, people coming by and looking at it and thanking us for bringing it down here, and we thank them for coming by to look at it. And thank you, Steve.
Yes, and thanks again, Garland, and enjoy the festival.
Oh, you're famous now, you know?
That's wild.